There's an awful lot of coffee in Bristol. John Bristol, grew up in Elmwood, Connecticut.
John Bristol's a tough one.
The puppet master.
Goofy. Yeah.
Hidden qualities.
I didn't really go to school. I chose to not do the college route. Wasn't really for me. Right off the bat, life was in the way, and then life kept getting in the way, and then I just decided I wanted to just do it myself, and I really just started to seek out other artists, other performers, other puppeteers, and learn from them. And also, there's a wonderful thing called the library and the internet. It's amazing what you can learn from those things. So I was really mostly self-taught. If you want to be a better artist or a better performer or whatever, you just got to keep learning. You can't just stop, because if you think you know it all, that's when you stink. And the journey to get there was how I became the artist. The self-taught teaching, the apprenticeships, just the studying of the work I loved turned me into an artist. There's no one set path, at least as far as I'm concerned, to make yourself an artist. Everyone takes their own version of it, and mine went from copying the comic strips in the Sunday Funnies to drawing characters of my own, into turning those into comic strips and then comic books, and then I from there got into puppetry, so I was a huge fan of puppetry. Never thought it was something I could do, and then just decided one day I want to see what my characters look like 3D. Wasn't much of a sculptor, so I thought building puppets would be easier. Whoa. Yeah. But it kind of took over. I design and build puppets, and I'm a puppeteer. I'm also a filmmaker. If they told me out of all the things I'm doing I had to stop and just do one of them, I would stop writing, I would stop filming, I would stop drawing, and I would just make puppets. Kindergarten, we had those sheets of paper, draw on top, write in the bottom, big ass paper, and I would draw similar things every week. Me with Muppets, me with Snoopy, me with whoever, whatever cartoon character, Woody Woodpecker was on my mind. And this one week I did me with Bert and Ernie. Then you'd walk up and the teacher would write down the story to go with it, because kindergarten, you didn't know how to read or write yet. I got bored of waiting for the kids to go through theirs, so I sounded out the words and wrote it myself and realized that this is what I want to do. I love doing it. I felt a sense of accomplishment and decided to make this what I could do, because I drew it, I wrote it, it was all mine. Just decided, yeah, comics is where I want to go, and puppets, and because they all kind of came together for me, and that was the moment, really, and then I just took the journey from there. I think puppetry is going to re-enter in the United States, the mainstream, in the next 2 or 3 years. You're going to see it as another force, because people are going to get bored of computer animation. There's a point where people are going to go, I want to feel it again. And that's, why I think the Muppets were so successful originally, is you could look at Kermit the Frog and know that you could reach out and touch it. You can't do that with Buzz Lightyear. Or just keep doing it. So many people say, I want to do this, I want to do that. I know so many people who call themselves filmmakers and screenwriters who don't do either, but they watch a whole lot of movies, and they talk about it a lot. Talking about it isn't going to make it happen. Talking about art, talking about puppetry, talking about movies, talking about music doesn't mean you know how to do it. Doesn't mean you are doing it. It just means you enjoy it. And that's a wonderful thing. Not everybody has to be a creator. You can be a spectator. But if you choose to be one of those people out there, do it. Don't just sit around and talk about it. Make it your life. Make it your social life. Make it your social circle. There's a lot of puppeteers and puppet makers. The average person wouldn't have heard of. Of course, Jim Henson, though. Of course, Frank Oz. That whole original Muppet crew up through the 80s. Even their puppet builders, Don Sahlin and Faz Faskowitz. And Raleigh Krulson. There's a whole bunch of them. And then there's other puppeteers, too, that I've gotten to know or meet. Frank Ballard, Bobby Box. He was a big influence on me personally because of just his general attitude. Bill Baird. You definitely see some Baird influence in the female puppets I make. Then illustration was a big deal for me too. Huge fan of comic strips. Charles Schultz, big influence. The Garfield work, Jim Davis and his crew, huge influence. Calvin and Hobbes was a huge influence. Older cartoons, Looney Tunes, blew me away. Dr. Seuss. The life I'm living, the people around me. The scripts I write are very much based on things that are going on or have gone on or could go on, and the characters I create, as abstract as they may be at times, are always based on somebody I know. Sometimes they look exactly like the person too. Sometimes they don't, you know. And the world that I'm living in definitely is probably my biggest inspiration as far as what goes into my work. And I got a screening, and the screening was a much bigger success than I expected. We did like an Elmwood Productions Greatest Hits. It blew up, and then I was going to meetings leading up to it every week for about a month just to make sure I got all the information I needed to get the screening done properly. And then the following week I went back to the next meeting and just to say thanks. And I found out that I was being nominated to be the next resident artist because of how much help I was and how passionate I was about the gallery in general. Because from the second I walked in there, I felt comfortable. I felt like it was home. I liked everyone there, got along with everyone, and it was just like the sense of humor was very similar to mine, and I don't find that everywhere. The doors can be open. That's one great thing about Paris, is the doors are open. It's an inviting place. You know, it's just, there's so many young artists out there who don't get an opportunity. Somebody has to be the first one to give it to them, and why not Paris? Then I'm not going anywhere.